My name is Drew Hooper. I work for the Norman Central CTC. And on today's show, I would love to show you how to make one of these out of some pretty common sewing materials. Here are the things that you'll need. The first thing you'll need is 6 pieces of pre-washed fabric. You'll need 4 pieces that are 7.5 by 7 inches and 2 that are 3 inches by 4 inches. The second thing you'll need is pipe cleaners, a fabric pencil, or a colored pencil. The third thing you'll need are push pins. You can find these push pins. I typically like to use the one with the colored ends with the balls. The fourth thing you'll need are 2 9-inch cords of elastic. And these vary from store to store, and you can really make a lot of the different ones work. The fifth thing you'll need is a sewing machine with some thread. The sixth thing you'll need are scissors or something to cut your fabric with, and a cutting board. The seventh thing you'll need is an iron and an ironing board. So now that we have our supplies together, the very first thing that you're going to do is make some templates for your fabric. I took some sturdy art paper and I traced basically 7 inches here on one side and then 7.5 inches on the other side. And I did the same thing for the smaller piece of fabric that you'll need. It's 3 inches here and 4 inches here. And these will really help us to get our fabric the exact cut that we needed. So let's trace our fabric. So we're going to take that fabric pencil or your colored pencil and we're going to outline 4 7.5 by 7 inch squares or rectangles and 2 4 inch by 3 inch rectangles. Be very careful when you're cutting out your fabrics. So we have 2 of our smaller pieces of fabric that are 4 inches by 3 inches, and we have 4 pieces of fabric that are 7.5 inches by 7 inches. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take 2 of these pieces, the bigger ones, and you're going to figure out what side you want to be showing. This is my favorite side here. I'm going to take 2 pieces of fabric and face them both the same way. We got those, and then we'll face these even here as well. Now, the sides that we want showing, we'll actually put those together and line them up here, like so. On the smaller side, at 0.5 inches here, you can kind of see the pencil mark with my hand, but at 0.5 we're going to sew the 7-inch side and the other 7-inch side. Alright, now that we have our 7-inch side sewn together on both sides, we're going to take it and we'll flip it inside out. Kind of like just a pillowcase, you'll just turn it inside out. Okay, and now we can see how our mask is going to look. This will be probably the front of my mask, and this will be the mask that I use for my mouth. Now we're going to take this and go to the ironing board. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our material and we're going to iron these seams here. That way our mask will be easier to construct. Alright, now that we've got that done, what we're going to do next is on these raw edges here, we're going to at about 1/4 of an inch, you'll go in here and do this on the sewing machine, and you'll put a hem here on the sewing machine. Let's go over to the sewing machine. The next thing we're going to need is the pipe cleaner. Now I know it seems a little weird for a mask, but these really help in forming over your face, which makes it also more safe for you and your family. I would cut the pipe cleaner a little bit shorter than the longest edge. So I'm going to cut my pipe cleaner about right here, because you don't want it to be too long. Otherwise, you may have problems fitting it in the mask, and you don't want to do that. So I have it about here. And the next thing we want to do is on the side that's the front of your mask. So for me, this will be the front of my mask. I'm going to take this pipe cleaner and I'm going to take it here and I'm going to fold this fabric over to just about 0.5 inches. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want a pretty good fold. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this out and we're going to sew right along here at 0.5. That way we can stuff this back in after we have our hem sewn. Okay guys, now that we have our 0.5 sewn here at the top, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this pipe cleaner. Be really careful because at the end here it can really hurt your fingers. So you're going to take this and insert it here, and you can use something like scissors. Just be real careful and kind of push it in there because you're going to want it to be in the middle. Okay, that's going to be great. The next thing is one of the tougher skills I've been working on this mask, and that's pleating with your hands. We have our pleated side right here, and we're going to do a couple pleats on it, and we're going to go one, and we're going to get one more good pleat in here. Okay, and about like that, and we want this to be right about 3 inches. Now if you don't get it exactly 3 inches, it's okay, but you're going to try to get it around 3 inches. And you see how all these pleats face the same way. I have these pins out because you're going to want to pin these. Be really careful not to hurt your hands, and also keep the pins away from this seam here, because next we're going to sew this seam with our sewing machine. So let me get a couple pins in here on both sides, and you can really use as many pins as you think it'll be necessary. Okay, and we've got this side. Every sewing machine is a little bit different. I adjust my tension here because you're going to be doing this edge and there's a lot of fabric. So your sewing machine is going to be working overtime. So make sure your machine is oiled and your tension is good before you do this step, because you could break a needle or worse. So I'm going to sew actually on this edge here at about 0.25. It doesn't have to be exactly, because we will cover this up, but I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew this at 0.25 from the edge. Now we're going to take our mask here, and we can go ahead and pull out these pins. Be really careful when you're pulling out these pins. We don't want you to poke yourself, because it wouldn't be fun. In this show, it's all about fun. When you think of masks, think of fun. Okay, so now that we have our mask here and the pins out, we're going to take our smaller piece here, and you see where the fold is here? We're going to put that right here at 0.5 on our mask, 0.5 inches from here. So we'll put it right here, and we're going to take the other one and put it right here at the front of the mask, and then we're going to sew right here. Alright, now we have our small pieces sewn right here on the front of the mask, and now we're going to flip it over on this side, and we're going to take this elastic and insert it right here on the top and on the bottom of both sides. In some of the directions I read, after we do this stitch here that we just did, sometimes they want you to come back and sew this as well on both sides. But for me, this mask works just fine. So however you think it would be good and work for you or your family. With these fabrics masks, you don't want to touch your face very much to adjust it. I use this to go to the grocery store, or if I'm going to the bank, I'll use something like this. But you want to wash it every time you use it. I would suggest to, if you're able to. But this is basically it. If you have any further questions, feel free to email dhooper, HOOPER, at pioneerlibrarysystem.org.